we are going to be making the single rib stitch house slipper socks. I'm using cozy wool yarn, and I got a really good deal on it. Color Caribbean Sea. Typically I would use a number 5, but this yarn I really like the color, and I like that it's a wool blend, so it'll be nice and warm. It's a number 6, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one. Maybe a little bulky, but I think it's going to be just fine. Get to the end of my yarn. The loom I'm using is the 30 peg 1/2 inch gauge preemie hat sock loom from Cindywood Looms. You'll notice I've got stitch markers on here, which the stitch markers I got from KB Looms. I'll put a direct link for those and the loom in the video description below, as well as the PDF. But what I did was I marked every other peg. This marks the pegs that I will do purl stitches on. Now you will see peg 1 and peg 15 have a different collar. That you don't need to pay attention to until we get to the heel. Let's get this cast on. Do our slip knot. The tail on the inside of the loom. I guess I can zoom this in for you some. Take the working yarn behind the peg on the loom. You got your slip knot. Pull the working yarn through the slip knot and tighten it up. That tail you can put on the inside. That will just be woven later. But you take, there's 2 strands here behind the next peg. Pull the working yarn through. You do this all the way around the loom. For round 1 through 20, we will be doing a single rib stitch. I am using the purl stitch, and instead of a knit stitch, I'm using the E-wrap stitch. It is a looser stitch and will have more stretch to it. So for your purl stitch, you take your loom tool down through the top of the stitch on the peg with your working yarn below. Pull that working yarn up through. See, you've created a new loop. Take that old one off, put the new one on. I put my finger on top so it doesn't pop off. Tighten it up. Don't tighten it too much. You just need to tighten it just a little bit. Now, our E-wrap is actually a twisted knit stitch. In needle knitting, it is called an E-wrap in loom knitting because it's kind of like a cursive E. You wrap it around the back of the loom, around the peg. Then you knit over. Purl stitch, E-wrap around the back, it's time to start our heel. First thing we will do is we are going to E-wrap pegs 1 through 15. A little more yarn there. See, I've already got mine marked out that this right here is peg 15. That's row 1. Now our yarn is coming from peg 15.
it's going in this opposite direction. I'm not going to rewrap that. This is called slipping the stitch, and it gives kind of a nicer edge to it. That's row 2. Now for row 3, yarn is coming from peg 1. So we are skipping that. We are wrapping peg 2 to 15 again. Now our final flat row for this part, before we start any decreases, again, skipping peg 15, going to 14, and working back to peg 1. This is where our decreases really come in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take the stitch from peg 15 and place it onto peg 14. Those will be treated as one stitch. And then, of course, the yarn coming from peg 1, so we will wrap peg 2, so 14. Okay, stitch from peg 1. We're going to place on peg 2. Treat both those as one. An E-wrap from peg 14. Actually, peg 14 is already wrapped. So we'll do peg 13. Back to peg 2. We'll take that bottom over the top. Now we need to pick these stitches back up. If we fill in just these 3, we will end up with whole heel gaps. So what you want to do, which sometimes it could be a little difficult looking at the yarn, here's 1 loop, there's 2, looks like 3, 4, and if you don't get the exact ones, there's so much going on here that you're going to be fine. See, this looks like the first loop right here. I'm going to place that. Which side am I on? So this would be on peg 12. And then it looks like here's a loop. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, Let me find that fourth one here. Okay, it's down under there. There we go. Alright, so peg, was this 12 and 16? 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 12 and 16 have 2 on them. Let's go over to this side. I guess I can zoom this out a bit. See, it looks like our first stitch is right here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, see how there's a bit of a hole here, so I definitely want to take this one, that first looking one, and put it up there. And you can see there'll be bars like this. And there's a one. If you grab kind of those under bars, yarn is coming from peg 4. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll start with peg 5. We are now working on the body. This first round is not going to be a complete round. We'll be working to peg 1. There's only 3 pegs here that won't be worked. So we will be starting with peg 1 and then working in the round for, I'm going to be doing 25 rounds. But I will go ahead and show you how this will be wrapped. Pegs 2 through 14 are going to be E-wrapped for the rest of this project. Peg 15 through 1 will be purl 1, U-stitch 1. You will be using your same design as before. Or purl 1, E-wrap 1. So purl, E-wrap, purl, oops, I'm making a mess. Okay, purl, E-wrap. Peg 30 will have 2 stitches on it, and that is fine. You'll notice there's going to be 4 pegs. Peg number 30, 4, so that 13 and 16, 14, 15, no, 12 and 16, sorry. Those will have an extra stitch on them, so they'll actually have 3 instead of your normal 2. But this is what it's going to look like, because your heel's on this back half. So you have your ribbing on the front, and then just your E-wraps on the back. You're going to repeat this and do 25 rounds all together. The gauging is wrote in the PDF, so you can adjust the body size of the sock as needed. The toe is a repeat of the heel. So your yarn should be coming from peg 30, E-wrap peg 1, 2, 3, well, 1 through 15. work one round back to peg 1. All the pegs have 1 stitch left on them. Go ahead and wrap the working yarn around the loom at least 3 times. To close the toe, we are going to be weaving back and forth. Working yarn is coming from peg 30. So I'm going to take the yarn up through peg 1, down through, down through peg 30, and pop both of those off. Up through peg 2, down through peg 28, pop those off. It's off the loom. Now, tighten this up. You can take and tighten it up one at a time if you would like. But lots of times you can pull it and tighten it up like that. So you just stretch it out. You see, here's where the toe joint is. And you got your heel. Okay, at this point you just take your crochet hook and you weave the ends in as you're done. Thank you so much for watching. Questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below. All the direct links that you need are in the video description below, as long as information for the PDF, the loom, yarn, everything. Thank you so much for watching.